She slid her phone across the counter and said, "This dinner is for people who actually elevate me, so please don't tag along and embarrass me." And I quietly decided my name would be off every contract by the end of the week. Hey friends, please subscribe and turn on notifications, like this video, and leave a comment with your impressions. This will be a great help. Thank you. We never tire of reminding you. It's all thanks to you. I'm 41 and I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I work in compliance for a regional credit union, which means my whole job is noticing patterns, reading fine print, and keeping things clean and documented. I used to think that skill set was only useful at work. Turns out it can save you at home too. Her name was Brianna. She was 34 and worked as a development manager for a local arts nonprofit. Bri was good at people. She could walk into a room and leave with 3 new friends, 2 promises, and a volunteer sign-up sheet filled out. When we met, I liked that she had energy and purpose. After 2 years together, I thought we were building something solid. We lived in a rented townhome just outside downtown. 2 bedrooms, a small patio, nothing fancy, but it felt like ours. We were planning a small wedding for early fall, nothing huge. A rented garden venue, a photographer, a caterer, simple. We had already put down deposits and we were starting the paperwork for a condo pre-approval because we wanted to buy after the wedding. The shift didn't happen all at once. It came in little changes that didn't match the person I knew. Bri started staying late at the office more often, but it wasn't the normal nonprofit chaos kind of late. It was the kind of late where she'd come home dressed like she'd been somewhere she wanted to be seen. She also started taking calls on the balcony, stepping outside even when it was humid and the bugs were out. If I asked a normal question like, "How was your day?" she'd answer in broad strokes, then change the subject fast. Her phone used to sit on the couch while she cooked. Now it stayed face down beside her plate. If it lit up, her eyes would flick to it like a reflex. One night I picked up our shared tablet to check a calendar reminder for my dentist appointment. A notification banner popped up from our airline app, the one we used for trips to see my sister in Virginia. It said, "Itinerary updated, CLT right arrow BOS, Charlotte to Boston." I didn't open it, I didn't need to. We had no Boston trip planned. When she came home, I asked lightly, "Are you traveling soon?" She froze for half a beat. "Why?" "Just asking," I said. "You've been busy." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Work stuff, you know how it is." I didn't press. I told myself it was a fundraising conference or a donor visit. I wanted to trust the person I lived with. A few days later, she brought it up like it was no big deal. We were in the kitchen. I was sorting mail, and she was leaning on the counter scrolling. She didn't look up when she spoke. "I'm going to Boston next month," she said. "For work?" I asked. "Kind of," she said, and finally met my eyes. "I'm meeting Colton." I knew the name. Colton was her ex from years ago, the one she described as complicated and not a villain and someone I grew up with. She said they were on friendly terms, and I never tried to control who she spoke to. I believed adults could manage boundaries if they respected their relationship. "What's the point of meeting him?" I asked. She sighed like I was slow. "He's in town for a business dinner. He invited me. It's networking, Daniel. He has contacts. It could help the gala." The gala was her big project. Our fridge had save-the-date magnets and sponsor packets. I understood why she cared about it. "I'm not comfortable with you traveling to meet your ex for a dinner," I said calmly. "If it's networking, there are other ways to do it." She rolled her eyes, already irritated. "This is why you're exhausting sometimes." I kept my voice steady. "I'm asking for basic respect." That's when she did something I'll never forget. She unlocked her phone and slid it toward me, screen glowing. "What," I asked, "is this?" She tapped the screen once, like she was presenting evidence in court. It was a reservation email. Subject: confirmed reservation, Harbor Room Steakhouse, party of 2. The message was addressed to her, but the reservation name line said, Colton Reese. "You see," she said, "it's a dinner, not a crime." I looked at her, then back at the screen. "Why is it for 2? Why aren't you making it for a larger group if it's networking?" She leaned back and crossed her arms. "Because it's not for you. It's not for a couple. It's a business dinner." I nodded once, waiting for her to say something that made sense. She didn't, though. Instead, she added with a flat confidence that made my stomach go cold, "And just so we're clear, you are not coming. This dinner is for people who actually elevate me. I'm not babysitting your mood in front of Colton. Elevate me, babysitting my mood, like I was some inconvenience she tolerated. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't argue, I simply asked, "Do you hear how that sounds?" She shrugged, "It sounds honest." That was the moment the inside of me went quiet, not angry quiet, finished quiet. I thought about the fall wedding date we'd booked. I thought about the condo pre-approval paperwork sitting in my email, the one our loan officer had asked us to finalize next week. I thought about the checks I'd written and the deposits that were tied to my name and my responsibility. And I realized something simple. She was using our relationship as stability while she chased excitement and leverage somewhere else. The disrespect wasn't an accident. It was a power play to see what I would accept. I looked at her phone again and handed it back. "All right," I said. Her shoulders loosened like she'd won something. "Good, thank you, finally." I didn't correct her. I didn't need to. I just went to my office, opened my laptop, and started undoing the future in an orderly way. First, I pulled up our venue contract. We'd reserved a botanical garden space for October. The agreement had a cancellation window, full refund of the date hold fee, minus a processing charge if canceled more than 120 days out. We were still well inside that range. I emailed them that night. Subject: cancellation request, October event reservation. I gave our reservation number and asked for written confirmation of cancellation and the refund timeline. 10 minutes later, they replied. Subject: reservation canceled, refund processing, 7-10 business days. I saved it as a PDF. Next was the photographer. We paid a retainer, and the contract said the retainer was non-refundable once the date was held, but it also allowed a date transfer within 12 months if requested in writing within 30 days. I didn't want a date transfer. I wanted separation. Still, I called the photographer the next morning and explained politely that we had to cancel and asked if any portion could be credited back if the date rebooked. She was kind, professional, and clear. "If I rebook the date," she said, "I can refund half the retainer. I'll email you the policy." A few minutes later, an email hit my inbox. Subject: cancellation acknowledged, retainer policy attached. Receipt in writing. I saved it. Then I opened the condo pre-approval thread. Our loan officer had sent the link for final signatures. My income and credit were the reason the numbers worked. Her credit was fine, but her commission swings made underwriting tougher. We were applying together for convenience, not necessity. I sent a short message. Subject: application update, remove co-applicant. I wrote that I was withdrawing the joint application effective immediately and requested confirmation that no further steps would be taken without my written authorization. The loan officer replied within the hour, removed. No additional credit pull will occur. Confirmed. After that, I handled the practical home stuff. Bri and I had a shared utilities account and a shared streaming bundle. The utilities were in my name with autopay. I wasn't going to cut power and play games. I simply removed the shared card from any services that weren't essential and left the utilities alone until the lease situation was clear. Then I read our lease, both names on it, 4 months left. Renewal offer sitting in our inbox, unsigned. The lease had a roommate release clause. If one tenant wanted out early, the remaining tenant could requalify a loan and sign an addendum. If not, both tenants remained responsible until the end of the term. I emailed our property manager. Subject: lease question, roommate release / non-renewal. I asked for the release process and confirmed I would not be signing the renewal. They replied with an attachment titled Tenant Removal Request Form and a note, remaining tenant must qualify independently. I saved that too. That evening I packed quietly, only what was clearly mine. My clothes, my computer equipment, my personal files, the watch my father gave me, the artwork my sister painted, my tools, my kitchen knives I'd owned before we met. I left the shared furniture alone. I left the dishes. I left the couch we bought together because it was not worth turning into a fight. I took photos of each room before I left, not to threaten her, to protect myself from future claims about damage or missing property. By Friday night, I had a month-to-month furnished studio lined up in a different part of town. I signed the agreement in my name only. I paid the deposit from my account. I forwarded my mail. I changed my emergency contact at work. Bri noticed boxes near the closet and smirked. "You're being dramatic," she said. "I'm organizing," I replied. She scoffed. "Whatever, don't spiral while I'm gone." She left for Boston the next morning. I didn't watch her walk out like it was a movie scene. I didn't need closure from a goodbye. As soon as her rideshare notification popped up on the shared tablet, I picked up my keyring, loaded my car, and left. I left a short note on the kitchen counter. "I moved out today. I will pay my share of rent through the end of the current lease term. I will not be signing the renewal. Please communicate by email for logistics." No blame, no insults, no begging, just a boundary and a plan. She came home Sunday night. I know because my phone lit up like a strobe. First call, then another, then a string of texts. "Where are you? Is this a joke? You cannot do this to me." Then an email. Subject: "You left." All lowercase, like the panic made her forget punctuation. The message went from shock to anger in 3 lines. She said I was humiliating her. She said I was punishing her for networking. She demanded I come back so we can talk like adults. I replied once. Subject: "Ray, you left." I moved out. I'm not continuing the relationship. Lease logistics only, in writing. That was the first confrontation, even though it happened through a screen. The next one happened in person 2 days later. She showed up outside my office building around lunchtime. Security called me down because someone was asking for me by name and wouldn't leave. Bri was standing there with her arms folded, face tight, eyes bright with rage. "You're really doing this," she said the second she saw me. "Yes," I replied. She laughed in disbelief. "Because of one dinner." Minimization, make it small. "It wasn't one dinner," I said. "It was the way you spoke to me." She stepped closer. "You're too sensitive. You always act like a victim when you don't get your way." Blames make it my flaw. I kept my voice even. Use email for less details. Her face hardened. "You're acting like you're better than me, like you're some calm saint. You're not. You're controlling and boring." Insults attack my identity. I didn't react. "I'm leaving now." Her eyes suddenly filled, as if a switch flipped. "Daniel, please, I didn't think you'd leave. I thought you'd cool off and stop being stubborn." Tears, emotional leverage. I looked at her not with anger, but with clarity. "You took a risk because you assumed I would stay available. That assumption was wrong." She wiped her face, furious. "You're going to regret this." "I won't," I said quietly. "I'm protecting my life." Then I turned around and walked back inside. After that, she tried 3 more ways to reach me. An unknown number called at 10:38 p.m. The voicemail was her voice, softer, saying, "Just answer, I'm scared." I blocked the numbers. Then she emailed again. Subject: "I made a mistake." In that message she said Colton used her for connections and left early and made her look foolish. She said she felt embarrassed and wanted to come home and reset. She wrote that she missed me and that she didn't mean the elevate comment. I didn't reply. I created a filter that sent her messages into a folder labeled Brianna Records. If I needed documentation for the lease, I'd have it. If I didn't, it would sit there untouched. The third attempt came through my older brother, who lives 2 towns over. He texted me, confused, saying Brianna had called him crying and asked him to talk sense into me. He didn't even know her well. She was reaching for any lever she could find. I told him, "I'm fine, please don't get involved," and I blocked her from contacting him through my phone plan settings. The karma didn't come from me. It came from contracts and reality. The property manager emailed both of us a week later. Bri had applied for the roommate release to keep the townhome alone. She didn't qualify without a cosigner because her income relied on annual pledges and seasonal bonuses. They offered her 2 options: bring a qualified roommate to add to the lease, or both tenants remain responsible until the end of the term. She panicked. She tried to pressure me to sign the renewal just temporarily, promising she'd pay me back later. I refused in writing. I reminded her I was paying my share through the lease, nothing beyond that. She called me heartless. Meanwhile, the wedding cancellations started hitting her, because her name was on some of the vendor threads too. The garden venue sent a refund confirmation. It went back to my card because the deposit was paid by me. She emailed demanding her half immediately. I replied with one line, "I'll settle shared expenses when the final vendor refunds and invoices are complete. Fax only." A few days later, the photographer emailed saying the date had been rebooked and half the retainer would be returned, again to my card. Another receipt, another clean, lawful consequence. Then came the social consequences. Bri had posted pictures from Boston with a caption about big connections and new chapter. People asked in the comments when the wedding was. A week later, she deleted the post. I heard through a mutual friend that Colton had shown up at her gala planning meeting once, spoke big, then disappeared when it was time to commit sponsors. She had gambled her credibility on him, and it cost her. At her job, the ripple was worse. Nonprofits run on trust. When donors sense instability, they back away. Bri missed deadlines and snapped at a board member during a planning call. Her director put her on a performance improvement plan. No revenge, no sabotage, just the natural outcome of someone trying to juggle too many stories at once. By the time spring came, my life was quieter and simpler. I moved into a one-bedroom lease in my name only. I kept paying my portion of the old rent until the lease ended, because my name was on the contract and I keep my obligations. When the term finished, I signed nothing new. I walked away clean. A couple months later, I was at a Saturday afternoon community lecture at the county library, the kind they do for free, where local speakers talk about gardening, history, or financial planning. I went because I like calm spaces, and I wanted to rebuild routines that didn't involve negotiating someone else's moods. After the talk, I was standing near a table of pamphlets when I heard my name. Daniel. I turned and saw Brianna. She looked smaller than I remembered, not physically, just deflated. Her hair was pulled back without effort. Her eyes were tired. She held a folded flyer in her hand like she needed something to grip. For a second, her face brightened with hope. Then she stepped closer, careful. "I didn't know you came to these," she said. "I didn't before," I replied. She swallowed. "Can we talk, just for a few minutes?" "I can listen for a moment," I said, "but I'm not reopening anything." Her mouth tightened. "You're still so firm." "Yes," I said. She stared at the floor, then looked up. I was stupid. I wanted to feel important. Colton made me feel like I was stepping into a bigger world, and then he didn't even respect me. I nodded once. "I'm sorry that happened to you." Her eyes filled again. "I miss our life. I miss the stability. I miss you." I kept my voice gentle, not cruel. "What you miss is the safety of what I built. You didn't treat it like it mattered while you had it." She flinched like the truth stung more than anger would have. "I'm trying to fix myself," she whispered. "I hope you do," I said, "but I'm not the place you practice on." She stood there silent, and I could see she wanted me to soften, to offer a path back. I didn't, not because I hated her, but because I was finally calm. "I wish you well," I said. "Please don't contact me again." Then I turned and walked toward the exit, feeling light in a way I hadn't felt in months. If you've ever had to leave without yelling, tell me what finally made you choose peace. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know what you would have done.